Hi everyone, this is Matthew at Das Trader. Today's video series will be about setting up a continuation of charting hotkeys, on how to set up hotkeys where you can um, set up time frames specifically that you may be more in line and used to using. So what I'm going to do is go here to set up hotkeys, and I just want to show you, for example, right now if I select the chart, there's a toolbar here. We added a toolbar here. We can add there's a toolbar here that I can select the time frames here when I click. Now that's all grand and dandy, but what if I want to uh, have hotkeys instead of going up there and clicking? I just click on the chart and I just use my keyboard to toggle back and forth because it's a lot faster doing it this way. So you may, for example, um, set up, for example, a support resistance line here, and then you may want to, switch over to your daily. I've set this for my number pad number 3, and I'll show you. I just wanted to give you an introduction. So, and if I press the hotkeys twice, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 7, which I've set for the number pad keys, they also have a nature to them where, if you notice the chart, it shows all the candles up front. There's no scroll bar at the bottom of the chart, so I don't have to scroll back and forth to see the big picture of what's happening with price action. So wherever I drew my support resistance line, given that the price is in the range of my time frame, then for example, if I switch to a different time frame, I'll still be able to see my chart analysis, and rightfully so. And then another way is, for example, you may want to right mouse click in the lower area next to the tabs, and add a new uh, a new tab. Let's say you call it charting analysis, and you go here, go to quotes to open up a new chart window, and then we just want to maximize this to Windows tile. And so say, for example, you may want to do most of your work here and just use that main page, that default tab, just as an area to kind of gauge your mental stops and support resistances. But it's definitely, there is room to make. A lot of folks, they say, well, do I need a multiple monitor system? Actually, I'll show you how you can actually create a hotkey to toggle between these tabs very quickly. And one of the great parts of, for example, studying nature is that you can see, like, for example, the falcons or eagles, what have you. Whenever they're targeting, it's just their eyes are moving. Their heads really don't shift, because a lot of times when the head shifts, um, it causes a lot of other areas, part of the brain, for example, concentration, and you may miss out on something. Whereas you could just have a hotkey where you could still be focused right at the your trading window, and still have these other views in place when you need to go back, for example, to this large area where you could do a lot of your analysis. Um, and so for example, if I press 7 a couple times, it'll get that best fit. So the first time you'll see that scroll bar, and then the second time you won't see a scroll bar. And that's the reason, is because in setup hotkeys, I'll show you right now. In setup hotkeys, we have two portions set to it. So the first portion will dictate what kind of time frame it is, and then next to it, it'll do a zoom fit. So that's why we press those numbers twice to register that zoom fit. So whenever I go through my hotkeys, I press 1 a couple times, or 2 a couple times, 3 a couple times, 4, 5, whichever keys. And for example, you could use the F1 through F7. It's just that some keyboards, the master of their machine, Windows, maybe using those for their brightness settings. They may not have like a function key where it drives those functions, the volume, the brightness. As soon as they press F1 or one of the F keys, it may already be taking control of that key. So I particularly use the number pad for the charting hotkeys in this example here in this video, because some folks may have keyboard settings of their F1 through F7 taken for that. And there's a two portion here, so we're just going to go ahead and build these. So I'm going to go ahead and select these one by one and just delete them, and because we're going to go ahead and set these up by scratch, because it's a lot more fun when you can uh, build something and know how to build it correctly. It's a very powerful thing in any software you're learning. It's a lot more powerful in anything you're doing, uh, is to specialize on how that software, how to precisely use the tools correctly. And so whenever you build it correctly all the time, you always get 100% results, and you feel good about it because there's a sense of confidence in knowing how to do something correctly. Whereas, for example, if you just were to use your own rules and go in and set up hotkeys, it's not really a productive thing. Maybe you may get by, some of it, but it's not the proper design, proper use of how to put those tools together in a syntax and a format where it's appropriate. And when something works 100% of the time, it means that it's correct. When something doesn't work 100% of the time, it just means that the hotkey script is incorrect. And that's a whole lot. That's basically 50% of learning is basically starting over. 50% of learning is starting over, and the other 50%, the instructions are here. So all the resources are here for you to take advantage and start off. I know I spent a little bit too much time, maybe you may think about this topic, but it's just a question that comes up, and we get a lot of requests, some questions, and a lot of interesting hotkeys that they're using with the incorrect syntax. So I wanted to make sure that this video series, of course, the first video series is demo. That's the must. And then after you watch the demo in that sequence, there's also another one on hotkeys, and this is just on charting hotkeys. But I felt that I needed to communicate this, and just to make sure that there's no shame in learning, and we always want to encourage everyone to use the proper syntax, because if you win, we win, right? So and we want to just try to discourage any kind of creativity when it comes to getting your because hotkeys are really important to know, and so you don't want to incorporate any kind of something that you may think is right, or you may have seen somebody on some chat room may have done, when it has to be vetted by the software company. It has to be support. The technology, the programmers that have built this software. There's a communication between the growth, the product knowledge, and so it's very important to translate what I guess you could say the oracle, or the developer of DAS communicates, because obviously he's the architect behind it. And so that's what I did. When I started learning DAS, I just had to learn from the source. And so my job is to translate all the things that he's shown me, that I had to learn. Hotkeys take roughly about 1 year to learn, and that's if you learn it correctly. I've seen so many times traders might do something, or we might have someone who's used DAS for 8 years and may not still know how to use the hotkeys correctly, and we've seen it. But it's better than learning. It's better to learn it at 8 years than to learn it at 15 years. I always say. So always looking at that glass is always have full perspective, especially in the stock market, and to use the tools that we provide you, so that for your own benefit, for you, that you become empowered and use the tools correctly. Okay, so with that said, I want to go in here into click on add new item. I get the Hotkey script builder. In trading category, I want to go to chart specific, and I want to just start off from the basic one. So I want to go to that the minute chart, and I want to for this one we'll just do like a 1 minute here. Not that it's too much relevant, especially in high frequency trading, but it's just here for completion's sake. So I'll put a 1 minute chart and 1 day, because it's just not significant to put 2 days on a 1 minute chart. And then we'll put here on hotkeys, we'll just press the number pad 1, and the number pad is just basically the numbers that are situated to the right of my keyboard. And then I want to click OK, and then I want to rinse and repeat for the next hotkey here. Oh, excuse me. We want to go ahead and select that, go to edit item, place our cursor towards the end of that hotkey that we created. So that reads minute chart 1 minute space 1D means the 1 day. And I also want to go ahead and I want to add the zoom fit that we talked about, the second portion there. And let's see here, zoom fit, click on add. Okay, and then what I want to do is I want to click on commit. Okay, and then so that's why we press that number pad twice, to register also the zoom fit. As you continue to use it, it'll just become a habit. Anytime you want to activate your use the chart hotkeys, you just press them a couple times. It's actually quite fun. So you get a habit of doing that. Once you appreciate that, you want to bring in the zoom fit as well. Add new item. You want to go to trading, chart specific. Then let's set, for example, the daily chart for the day chart. So each candle on a daily chart will represent 1 day, so that's why I'm doing that 1D. And then this just means XY or XD. Now the Y just means the year that you're in. So right now it's, as you know, right now it's March 21st, 2017. So if I put just 1 year, that will be translated as year to date. So up to from January 1st. And I don't particularly want to do that. And it's just going to be trial and error on the number of days that. So I've done this before. So I'll put like 140 for 140 days, because I've sized the maximum candles that I could fit into this window size that I have on my main window. And you may have a higher resolution. This one's 1600 by 900, so you may have a little bit larger. So you may put like 180, or you just play around with it and see what the request is, because each time you press this hotkey, it's going to fresh request that information from the quote server, and we're co-located inside the same place where the UTP server is, where all the prints are coming in, and that those prints are being translated into the chart according to the guidelines of Nasdaq's rules and regulations, to prevent market manipulation and things of that nature. So I've done this before. Now if you go over, if you, for example, you do 200 and you say, okay, well, you'll get a message that you've requested too many at one time. So we don't cache any of the data like the other platforms may do, to try to save money. We request fresh right off the oven, as they say. So want to go to day chart 1D 140 days, something reasonable, and then I'm just going to put daily chart for 140 days. Okay, and then I want to this one, because I know 2 I'm going to set for 5 minute, 3 I'm going to set for the 1 hour 60 minute, and 4 I'll just do for the daily, and then I'll just put number 4 there. Click commit, and excuse me, I'm going to double this to 280, and I'll show you why. Because the 12 hour will be set on 140. The 12 hour is nice because uh, because you can't use the daily chart when you're when you're trading during the day, because the candle hasn't closed yet. So you don't know if this is going to be, what sort of psychology will be shown in the candle, whether buyers are in control, because the candle really hasn't closed. So you can't make any judgment off of the daily when you're trading. So what a lot of professional traders, they do, even across futures and forex, and even growing in equities, is to change the perspective, to allow to see the daily, but to split that where you can actually see candles that are completed already. And that's, for example, the morning setups and the afternoon setups up to 11:59. Once the candle closes, the next candle at 12, you'll get a new candle. So you can make that judgment of that 11:59 candle that closes, what's happening between the morning and the afternoon, whether you need to be bearish or bullish. And so let me just add that here. Let me just show you here real quick, and we'll come back to add that zoom fit towards the end. But and the reason why I added 280 there is because basically the 12 hour is just 2 times the daily. So if you can put more information in the daily, it gets divided by 2. So that's why this one was the 140. Here it is, 140. And then for this we'll put 720. Why 720 minutes? Because each hour has 60 minutes in an hour, and this will be for 12. So I just did 12 times 60. Okay, and we'll put this as a 12-hour chart, and we'll put this 140 days. And a lot of times that missing piece of information when you do chart analysis, to be able to have that different price perspective is everything, right? Perspective changes the way we make decisions. Perspective changes how we react to situations, especially in a fast-moving market. You want to be still in control, and you can't see what you're walking into when you're just always staring down a microscope, on a 1 minute or a 5 minute, because you don't know what kind of tsunami, what's headed behind you, what the trend is, etc. So I want to set that as 7, just personal preference, and then click commit. Before I click commit, I'm going to place my cursor towards the end of this script, and I'm going to go to zoom fit while I'm here, while I still remember it, and then click commit. I'm going to do the same thing for this daily while I'm here, and I'm going to place my cursor first there before adding, and then click add, and it'll add the semicolon there, and then zoom fit. Okay, and then click commit. Okay, so we've got 4 and 7. Let's go and 1, and let's do excuse me, 5 minute. So we're just going to rinse and repeat, similar to the other minute charts that we set up. 1 day, and then bring in the zoom fit here, and we're going to call this 5-minute chart, daily, and best fit. I should have probably put best fit, but because I just know my preferences in the name column, I'll leave that off. But you'll know I put it in for this one. It is best fit, and hotkey for this, for the 5-minute, just in a sequential order. As the numbers going up, I set those as the order of increasing time frames. So it's basically, as time, the smaller the time frame, the less time you have to react to a situation. The longer the time frame, the more time you have to react to something, and that's why control is proportional to the amount of time that you have to react. So let's go here to the hotkeys, and then we'll set that as 2. Click commit. Go to add new item, trading, and we're going to do another one for an hourly chart or a 60-minute chart. And click on add. I'm going to title this 60-minute chart, and then best fit. Okay, and maybe put this as 20 days. Okay, and I've experimented with this, so you can try it yourself, but just based on my resolution that I have, I use the 20 days. I think you could probably, if you're in one of those higher monitor resolutions, you could try it. You could put in 30 and see what it gives you. Okay, so down here we'll just put 20 and put that 60 and remove the skeleton. The skeleton is just basically that syntax that it shows you, those brackets. We're just removing that. It's just kind of like the tricycles when you're going bicycling for the first time. And then the hotkey, we're just going to put number 3 there, click commit. And the next one, oh excuse me, old habit, trading, and we'll place my cursor towards the end, and then we're going to bring that zoom fit as well, click commit. And now what I want to do is, and of course I don't particularly use too much of the 1 minute, 5 minute, and 60 minute, because you just, in terms of price action, um, a lot of those price actions is about really key about where to set those very powerful support resistance area lines, and to know which line is a concrete wall and to know which line is a feather wall. And feather walls are the lines that, yeah, they're there on the 1 minute and the 5 minute, you can draw them, but they're a lot more powerful on the larger time frame. So generally I prefer, the 12-hour, the daily and the weekly and the monthly. So I wanted to go ahead and show you how to set those up. You may not use them, but they're very powerful. And so let's just go through. Here we have the daily chart. So the next one will be the weekly chart. And the weekly chart, you'll notice, because you say, well, Matthew, why does it say day chart there and then it says XW? Well, the X, the W stands for the weekly. So each candle, each candle will represent, if we replace X with 1, each candle will represent 1 week. And then to answer your question about why is the day chart, because the weekly and the monthly, they're all calculated based on daily chart, and that's just how the all weekly and charts are. It's just that you have an opportunity now here to see how this information is given to you. So that's why you see day chart there, because the information that's put together to build the weekly uses daily chart information. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and add there and click on 1, and we're going to call this weekly chart, and we're going to do this for 3 years. Like I said, I've just been I've been testing the years I could play around with, 2 or 3, and I could push it out for 3 years on my resolution. And I think if you're a little bit higher, you can go up to 4 years. And you can always, of course, request more data by requesting fresh data. Using the couple factors. You could place your cursor towards the edge of the chart. When the cursor changes, you can push back, or you could right mouse click, go to data config, and set your time there. Okay, so let's put this here, best fit, and then this one I want to put 5 for weekly, and I want to do after the 1W I want to put 3Y. Now the skeleton isn't here because usually it's the growth cycle of usually we explained it in the minute and the weekly, so we generally when they're get used to setting up the weekly and the monthly, it'll just be second nature to you, and you'll say, okay, well, I can put that there, or I may not put that there. It's just a new feature that we added. That way, sometimes it's nice to be able to put in these presets, because you don't have to each time go and say go to data config or say I want to see this 180 days, or each time it's just coded already in your charting hotkeys. And it's beautiful because you can save time, and time can help you save money by getting the information to you a lot quicker, so that you can get ready to focus on what you need to focus on on the frontal cortex, to making those decisions on who's in control, buyers or sellers. Okay, so that's that. I want to place the cursor towards the end of the 3Y and bring in that best fit. as well. And again, because it's a two-way two system here with the best fit as well. Whenever we press these hotkeys, we want to press them a couple of times. Always, it'll just be second nature after a while. You get used to it. Just click on commit. And the last one I want to set up, last one but not least, because sometimes you'll have the month finish and you just want to kind of see the big picture, what's going on, the month completed. Are we in a kind of a reversal? It's just always nice to start with the big picture and then gradually work down, because your mind will know, okay, well, what's really happening, and may not react so much because they see the big picture. So you may not react as much in your trading now because you've seen the big picture, and when you've seen the big picture, you know it doesn't matter. So and that's a lot of times, so many people, they spend their entire lifetimes uh, staring at 1 minute, 5 minute, 60 minute, and who blames them? They're all constantly reacting, constantly reacting. And the machines, the algorithms, the large banks, they certainly know it. I mean, the programs that are built in, they certainly program into the psychology of that as well. So that's one way we can stay away from that, is by helping us first see the big picture, and then hopefully try to stay in the big picture as much as possible. Click on add new item, and then go to trading, and I want to click on chart specific here, and the XM is the one I want to look at. The XM, that X we're going to replace with 1. That just means that each candle will represent 1 month. And then I also want to bring in zoom fit, and just going to go in here and make that 1 for 1 month, and then I want to put a space there and put in 4Y for 4 years. Again, I've tested this on mine, so on my resolution. It's going to be a monthly chart, 4 years with best fit, and then I'm going to put this one as the number 6. Okay, and later on I want to do another series right after this video is launched. We're going to do a video on advanced hotkeys, and basically you've got these are advanced enough where they incorporate, I mean, these two hotkeys alone, and this is covered in the hotkeys section. uh, you don't want to define so many parameters that are variable. So these two hotkeys alone are very flexible, in that traders who don't know what their target is will be using this for so many durations. The other hotkeys are advanced that you may not even use them. That's why I've kind of left them out as kind of a bonus feature, where, for example, it will buy X number of shares and place 10 cents trailing on there. And the reason why I didn't want to include that is because um, in a logistical standpoint, uh, trailing stop is used for when a trader is already up like 80 cents, a dollar, and they're ready to give up, to 10 cents, 5 cents of their cushion space to just get out. Most of the traders, when they're beginning out in trading, either they want to set up their stops correctly using a stop range, where they have to know their target, and they have to know their stop. Otherwise, it's the concept of duality. You can't have a risk without knowing the benefit. It's the same way as if I was trading for, for example, a large bank. You go to a large bank manager, you say, "Oh, can you loan me this money?" And the bank says, "Okay, what's your strategy?" Well, my strategy is, I'm going to guarantee that if we do lose money, this is the exit. I really don't have a plan for the future, like where my target is, but we're just going to play, um, you know, let it just keep. We don't know what's going to happen. And so it just doesn't work like that in real life. And the market is as real as it gets. It teaches you a lot of stuff. So that's why when you're dealing with high frequency trading platforms, the route needs to know, what is your exit strategy, what's your gameplay on this. This is your risk, what's your benefit. You can't have one and then just send another information, because if you do that, then you're if you send a just a your stop market, you've told the route that, it's high frequency trading. These things happen in less than milliseconds. You told the route what your exit strategy is. And I know, like most of you listening to this, your strategy probably is not to lose money 100% of the time. So if you haven't planned this out, you don't know what your reward ratio is and your risk reward ratio is. For example, a lot of traders, they won't even enter a trade unless they know that they have at least a minimum of 2-to-1 risk reward ratio. So for example, 20 cents above their entry and 10 cents below. But you can't apply that concept um, uh, to, all the trades, because some of your trades, uh, may be different. 10 cents on a stop may be different from another situation. But I do include those advanced hotkeys in the next series, and I just want to give a quick intro. I didn't want to go over too much because I wanted to finish up this charting hotkeys. But there's several. It's basically a primary and a trigger advanced hotkey where you could automate it, and I'll also show you, for example, how to, for example, buy X number of shares um, as a marketable limit order, and then once that's filled, it'll immediately put in 20 cents above your entry. And I'll explain, one of the why we use average cost, which is your entry price, and then with the two at the end, because of certain brokerages who have certain routes. Their routes may have rules where they may not support 3 decimal places, right? So we always, take your entry price to 2 decimal places, right? So all these things bring in a 360 understanding of, how high frequency trading works, all these tools, and just try to pour as much knowledge and wealth so that at the end of the day, you'll be, at least 95% more in power than most of the traders in the world will be. So I want to just press on today's series, which was setting up, your 1 minute, your 5 minute, your daily, your 12 hour, your 60 minute, weekly, and monthly. Want to go ahead and click OK. And for example, if once to use the chart hotkeys, I want to activate my chart window. So I just, let's say I click on the chart, I've activated it, and if I just press the charting hotkeys that we set up on the number pad over here, just a couple times for each one, because I want to get the best fit. So for example, that's 1 for the 1 minute chart, 2, that's the 5 minute chart for today, which is March 21st, 3, that's the 60 minute 1 hour that we set for 20 days, and 4, that's the daily that we set for 280 days. And it's just nice to be able to come in here and always see. It just helps you to be able to toggle between the different time frames. So that concludes the charting hotkeys. The last thing I wanted to show you that's really cool is set up hotkeys. You can go to add new item, go to trading, and if you want to try to increase your focus, increase your concentration, to be on one monitor, you can use these tools and still be able to use hotkeys where you can change between tabs a lot very fast. So if I go to for example, window configuration, and I select switch desktop and then switch tab name, click on add, and then I just say here switch tabs, and then I want to set this as hold shift and press tab, and then click commit. And another thing is I may have may have been from before, or I may or may not have covered this in the past, but I just want to show you this. It's very neat in that sometimes, for example, you may be getting ready to trade something, and it may behoove you to know if you're walking into an earnings release where the price may be cooked for that, and or maybe it's already baked in to some of the earnings that's coming out, and that might churn your stance that it might go into a reversal, or it's because it's already reached um, a major resistance area. So what I did was I set the tilde keyboard. It's the key right above your tab. On my keyboard, there's a tab, and right above that, right next to the number 1 to the left of it, it looks like a little curved line right below it. It's got a little kind of an uppercase comma. And what I want to do is I want to delete this item and just show you how I made that. Go to miscellaneous and go web surfing, and then you want to add that, and then you just want to do finance. The reason why I personally prefer finance school is because Yahoo Finance just, with their message boards, is too much extra information. And I think that's one of the reasons why finance school has been so successful, is that they've prevented a lot of those message boards, because a lot of times you don't want to go in there and get a second opinion. You just want to go in and get the hard facts. And so that's always nice. And so basically that script, when you press it, and I'm just going to title this Google Finance, and then set that key, click on in the hotkey, and set that key that I prefer to use. And so there, if you notice that, like on your keyboard, there's very few keys. I mean, you don't want to use your letters, right? You don't want to use the numbers, and you don't want to use Control or Alt, because professional traders, they never use Control or Alt, because that's used by the master, by Windows, right? Because if you're live trading and Windows is using those keys, it just doesn't make any sense. So that's why you always you use the shift plus either a number or a letter, and you always want to use 2 key systems, because I talk about this in the hotkey video, but just real quick, sometimes you may step away, and there was a client who, I heard the story that there was a cat walking across their keyboard, and they when he came back, there was some funny trades going on. So it's really hard to be able to hold one key and press another, but it's a security system, and this is your money going in and going out. So you want to put in a system where it takes some muscle coordination to be able to, and some finesse to be able to press that. Okay, so we did a little bit more. We added the hotkey for that, and we're going to show you that in action. Okay, so I'm going to just demonstrate this real quick. So if I go ahead and I press the tilde key inside DAS, I'll be able to immediately pull up Finance Google, and it's really helpful, for those folks who just want to make sure that their eyes are glued on the same monitor where their money is, and while still being able to quickly navigate things. So I could just come in here and just type in, for example, AKS, or whatever I'm looking at. And if I, for example, if I go down here, I can see, for example, okay, excuse me, that came out already on the 22nd, and that's what was in the horizon, so that's passed. So that may not affect my decision. The other one on the back arrow, the next one, this one is already done. So you can come in here under events and see, if you're walking into a situation, if it's having an earnings release, and also it also shows you, for example, related companies, some companies that you may want to just take a look at. So it's just really nice to be able to do that. And I can also show you, while we're here, if you go to Tools, News, and for example, if you can obviously right mouse click inside this window and see more, go to config, and it's just my own personal preference. I may want to set this in line with the theme that I have here on my DAS. So I'll change the background by just clicking on the box, selecting the color, clicking OK, and you'll see the color change. And then the text color, I may want to choose black, and then click OK. And then I want to go in here and go to filter, and if I don't want to select specific categories, I just want to leave that blank, and just go into CHK here and see what's all the news about, and I can just right mouse click, go to auto fit, and I can see, for example, and I can click on these and categorize them by the latest. Okay, so and I could always just look at the other ones here as well. So and whichever one has information, it'll appear in the body as well. The earnings, the net loss and things of that nature. You get a lot of the information here, and then you can always change the filter and just completely remove them, and just click OK, and just kind of see, uh, without putting any kind of filters, what's the latest here. Okay, so this concludes today's video series on how to set up charting hotkeys, how to set up to be able to switch through tabs, hotkey for that, as well as how to launch a certain web page that you may be using to just find out when the next earnings release is. For example, Google Finance was shown here in this video, and how to use the charting hotkeys to be able to, possibly maybe create more room. You may want to remove the toolbar. All right, well, thank you for watching this video series. Hopefully it's helpful. This video series was about charting hotkeys and how to set up some miscellaneous hotkeys to be able to better efficiently move throughout the system. And hopefully this has been helpful, and thank you very much, and have a good day. Thank you. Bye-bye.